6 months after Tobi was escorted out of the house, peace returned. The Lekki duplex felt lighter. No loud laughter from careless friends. No disrespectful comments. No hidden phone calls at midnight. Amara focused on work, and the young doctor who had asked her out. His name was David. Dr. David Okonkwo. A 35-year-old handsome man. He was calm, intelligent, reserved. He didn't chase her. He didn't boast. He didn't ask about her family background. He only noticed when she skipped lunch. He only cared when she looked tired. And for the first time, Amara felt seen.
If you're still watching, that means you're enjoying this story. Go ahead, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it. More powerful stories are coming.
One evening after work, Amara stepped outside the hospital gate. Her driver was waiting, but she felt it. That feeling, like someone was watching her. Across the street, a black car, tinted windows, engine running. She paused. The car drove off slowly. Her heart beat faster. She didn't tell her father. She didn't tell David. But something didn't feel right. Meanwhile, Tobi's life had collapsed. He was finally released few months after he was arrested. His residency application was cancelled. The friends who laughed in his living room disappeared. The woman he planned to marry, in his class, blocked him. He was drowning in debt. And every night, he replayed that moment. The files on the table. The clause. Her calm voice. You never tried to. It bruised his ego more than losing the money. He wasn't angry about love. He was angry about humiliation. And humiliation can turn dangerous. One afternoon, while Tobi was sitting in the in his parents' house, he received a call. It was from an unknown number. Mr. Tobi Adebayo. The masculine voice said. Yes. Tobi answered. We have a business proposal for you. The voice said. Tobi frowned immediately, already feeling uninterested because he solely wanted to fully focus on getting back at Amara. What kind of business? Tobi asked nonchalantly. A mutually beneficial arrangement, involving your former wife. Then there was silence. Tobi looked once again at his phone to see who it was. Who is this? He asked. You don't need to know. We only need information. The voice responded. Tobi's jaw tightened. Information. About Amara. Tobi thought to himself. Then the voice continued. We know you lived with her. We know you signed documents. We know you were removed. He felt a chill. What do you want? Tobi asked with confidence this time. We want access to her father's company. Tobi's breathing slowed. Chief Adimi. Oil contracts. Government deals. This was bigger than he imagined. And suddenly, revenge felt profitable. All right, I'm in. Tobi agreed. Eyes filled deadly betrayal. His mind was already set to destroy Amara and her family, and that was exactly what he was doing. He promised himself to never sleep at night until he took his revenge on Amara and her family. One night, while Amara was at home watching a movie, the security system in the house glitched. Just for 3 minutes. Cameras froze. Then returned. The security head reported to her immediately. It may be a minor network interruption, madam. He said. But Amara's instincts sharpened. She called her father. "Daddy, has there been any threat to the company recently?" Chief Adimi paused. "There are always threats," he said. She exhaled slowly. "Is there anything I should know?" Amara asked once again. She knew something was wrong somewhere and she was always the smart one. She knew that if she's facing any attack then it's from her father's company's competitor or enemy because kept her life so private that no one knew her name in her neighborhood. There was silence on the other end. "Yes," Chief Adimi answered. Her stomach tightened. "There's an internal investigation. Someone has been trying to access confidential contracts." He revealed to her. Her fingers went cold. "But are you okay? How did you suspect this?" Chief Adimi suddenly asked, knowing fully well who his daughter was. "It's nothing, Dad. I'm fine," Amara said before hanging up. She knew she just had to be careful at this point and very watchful because something big was coming. At the hospital, David watched her closely. "You've been distracted," he addressed. "I'm fine," Amara said with a fake smile. "No, you're not," he pointed out. She hesitated, then asked, quietly, "David, if someone betrayed you, would you ever forgive them?" Her voice tender and soft. He didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "Forgiveness depends on intention. What if the betrayal wasn't emotional, but strategic?" Amara asked him again. He looked at her carefully. "Are you in danger?" he asked with curiosity. She forced a smile. "No, I'm not. But for the first time." She wasn't sure. She always had her instinct tell her things if she was in danger or something, but this time it was different. Sometimes her mind would go to Tobi, but he has been out in his place and would never try anything stupid. He wasn't even capable of pulling such stunts. 3 days later, the board of Adimi Oil and Gas received anonymous documents. Documents suggesting financial irregularities, forgery, fraud, and attached to the report was Amara's signature. Her signature. On contracts she had never seen. The board panicked. Chief Adimi was furious. "This is sabotage," he said, leaving for his office. He picked up his phone and dialed Amara's number. "Come down to the office right now," he ordered on the call. About 40 minutes later, Amara walked into his office with worry all over her face. "What is it, Dad?" she asked him without hesitating. He showed her the documents and she went through them. "This isn't true, Dad. I know my princess. You would never do such a thing. I'm just thinking. Who could do something like this? I will definitely find that person and bring him or her to their knees," Chief Adimi said with anger. "It's okay, Dad. We will sort this out," Amara consoled him. Chief Adimi picked up his phone and dialed a number. "Yes. Run scans through those documents I sent to you. Make sure you find out who did those things," he said before hanging up. Amara stared at the papers again. Her voice dropped. "This is targeted," she said quietly. "Someone wasn't just after money. They were after her name. That night, as Amara arrived home from her father's office, she was starstruck. Her palm went cold. She saw him, standing outside the gate, Tobi. The driver stopped suddenly, with the headlights blasting his face. Her breath caught. He looked different, less polished, more desperate, black eyes, worn out clothes and tacky looking. Then she alighted from the car. "What are you doing here?" she asked coldly. He smiled faintly. "I just wanted to see how you were doing." His voice didn't change, but this time, it was cracked, filled with terror and hunger for revenge. She didn't respond. He stepped closer. "You embarrassed me," he said under his breath. She held his gaze. "You embarrassed yourself," she replied, standing confidently. His jaw tightened. "You think you're untouchable because of your father." His voice became more stronger and his anger was visible. His eyes were red. She remained calm. "If you have something to say, say it," Amara said. He leaned in slightly. "This isn't over," he said in a threatening tone. "Is that a threat?" Amara asked him, but he did not say anything. Her security moved forward, then he walked away slowly. But this time, his eyes weren't arrogant. They were calculating. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She was awake and cautious. Though she was scared, she didn't let it show. She contemplated on whether to call her father or not. She kept on thinking about what he said. His face kept on appearing and she couldn't let her mind off what happened. She vowed to get to the root of the situation by all means. But what Tobi didn't know was that he was being used too. The anonymous caller wasn't a small enemy. It was a rival oil executive trying to destroy Chief Adimi before a major federal contract award. And Tobi was the perfect pawn, a bitter ex-husband, close enough to know routines, angry enough to cooperate, but pawns are expendable. Amara decided to act quietly. She asked her father's cybersecurity team to trace the forged signatures. The origin traced back to an offshore account, linked to a shell company, and the payment trail led to Tobi's bank account. Her heart dropped, not because she loved him, but because it confirmed it. He had chosen revenge. At first she had doubts that he was involved, but then this revelation just made it all clear. Instead of confronting him immediately, she made a move. She agreed publicly to represent her father at the upcoming contract negotiation event. An event that would gather top oil executives, including the rival company, including the hidden mastermind, including Tobi secretly present as an advisor. It was a trap. It was the perfect opportunity for her to execute her plan and bring out all the dark secrets. The event day came, and 2 days before that day Amara took a flight to Abuja. Chief Adimi, Joseph and Michael were also present. At the event hall in Abuja, Amara stood confidently at the podium in her black suit. The media was present, executives seated. She began her speech calmly, then paused. Everyone stared at her curiously. There has been an attempt to frame me." The whole room erupted with murmurs. She nodded toward the screen. Digital evidence displayed. Transaction logs. Voice recordings. Bank transfers. Tobi's face drained of color. The rival executive tried to stand, but security moved instantly. The room erupted noisily. Amara's voice remained steady. "You underestimated me once. That was your first mistake," she said, looking directly at Tobi. "Doing it again was your last." Her voice was firm and direct. The rival executive was arrested for corporate sabotage. Tobi, on the other hand, was charged with conspiracy and fraud. As he was being escorted away, he looked at her one last time. There was no arrogance left. Only regret. "You could have just walked away," she said quietly. "But you chose pride. Look where it got you now," she added. Weeks later, one morning, Amara received information from investigators. It said Tobi had tried to back out. He was threatened, blackmailed. He had been desperate, used. She sat quietly in her father's office. "Should we reduce the charges?" her father asked. She stared out the window. "No," she replied. She said no, not out of hatred, but because actions have consequences. And sometimes, mercy teaches the wrong lesson. Months later, the contract was awarded to Adimi Oil and Gas. The company grew stronger. Amara stepped more fully into leadership. Not as the hidden daughter, but as executive director. And David, he was still with her. He stood beside her at the company gala one evening. "Still no contracts?" he teased softly. She smiled. "Only partnership." They both chuckled. He squeezed her hand gently. And this time, she didn't need to test anyone. Because strength is not hiding your power. It is knowing when to reveal it. Power is loud. Revenge is dramatic. But healing is quiet. After the scandal, after the arrest, after the corporate war ended, Amara didn't feel victorious. She felt tired. The kind of tired that comes after fighting battles you never asked for. One evening, she stood on the balcony of her Lekki home. David walked up behind her. "You're thinking again," he said gently. She smiled faintly. "When am I not?" He stepped beside her. "You don't have to carry everything alone anymore." She looked at him, and for the first time in a long time, she believed it. Months passed. Their relationship deepened. David knew about her past. He knew about Tobi. He knew about the sabotage. But he never treated her like fragile glass. One Sunday afternoon, after church, David drove her to the beach. No photographers. No dramatic setup. Just them. They sat quietly watching the waves. "Amara," he began. She looked at him. "I don't want to compete with your past." He paused. "I want to build your future." Her breath caught. He brought out a small ring box. "Marry me. Not because you need protection. Not because of your father. Not because of contracts." He held her gaze. "Marry me because you trust me." Her eyes filled with tears. Not dramatic tears. Healing tears. Yes. Unlike her first wedding, this one was full. Not extravagant, but intentional. Close friends. Hospital colleagues. Business associates. Family. Chief Adimi walked his daughter down the aisle. His eyes were proud. "Are you certain?" he whispered gently. She smiled. "Yes, Daddy." David stood at the altar, nervous but steady. When it was time for vows, he spoke first. "I promise to never make you feel small to feel big." Silence filled the hall. Amara's voice trembled slightly. "I promise to never test your love. I choose to believe it." And this time, when she signed the marriage certificate, there was no contract attached. Marriage wasn't dramatic. It was simple. Morning coffee together. Late hospital shifts. Board meetings. Playful arguments over who left the lights on. One night, after a long day, Amara came home exhausted. David met her in the kitchen. "You look like you fought the whole oil industry again." She laughed. "Sometimes it feels that way." He handed her a glass of water. "Rest. The company won't collapse without you." She looked at him. "Thank you." "For what?" "For not being intimidated." He smiled softly. "I married a strong woman. Why would I be afraid of that?" A year into marriage, Amara felt different. Tired. Emotional. Hungry at odd hours. David insisted they visit the hospital for tests. When the doctor smiled and said, "Congratulations," David froze. "Congratulations for what? You're going to be parents." Silence. Then David laughed. Then cried. Then laughed again. He lifted Amara gently. "We're having a baby." She nodded, tears streaming. "Yes. But pregnancy brought vulnerability." One night, Amara woke up panicking. "What if I'm not ready?" She whispered. David sat up immediately. "You run a company. That's business. And this." She placed her hand on her stomach. "This is life." He held her face gently. "You don't have to be perfect. You just have to love." Her breathing slowed. Sometimes strength needs reassurance. The day she went into labor, David was in surgery. He left immediately. He held her hand through every contraction. "You're doing well," he kept saying. Hours later, a baby girl cried into the world. David's hands shook as he carried her. "She looks like you," he whispered. Amara smiled weakly. "Then she'll be stubborn." They named her Zara. Chief Adimi cried openly when he held his granddaughter. "My legacy continues," he said softly. Motherhood changed Amara. Board meetings were now scheduled around feeding times. Contracts were reviewed while rocking a crib. She refused to choose between career and family. David supported her fully. One night, while watching her hold Zara, he said, "You're softer now." She smiled. "And stronger." 2 years later, a baby boy arrived. They named him Daniel. The house became louder, full of laughter, full of tiny footsteps, full of life. And sometimes, Amara would sit quietly watching her children play. remembering the version of herself who thought love was a test. Now she knew. Love was a decision. One afternoon, Chief Adimi called her into his office. Tobi has been released. She felt nothing. No anger. No fear. Okay, she replied calmly. He asked to apologize. She thought for a moment. No, not out of bitterness. But closure doesn't always require conversation. She had moved forward. And sometimes, silence is the final answer. 5 years later, Zara was in primary school. Daniel followed behind her everywhere. Amara had become managing director of Adimi Oil and Gas. David had opened his own private medical center. They built not just wealth, but stability. One evening at a family dinner, Zara asked, "Mummy, how did you know Daddy was the right one?" Amara looked at David, then at her daughter. "He never tried to shine by dimming my light." David smiled. "And your mummy never tried to control me with power." Zara nodded seriously. "Okay. Children understand more than we think." On their 10th wedding anniversary, David took Amara back to the same beach where he proposed. The sun was setting. Their children played in the sand. "You remember this place?" he asked. She nodded. "This is where I chose peace." He held her hand. "And I chose you." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "No enemies. No contracts. No revenge. Just partnership. Just growth. Just love built intentionally." Sometimes life gives you a lesson before it gives you a blessing. Amara was once married for documents. But she was later married for destiny. Not every heartbreak is destruction. Some are preparation. And sometimes, the quiet woman they underestimated becomes the matriarch of something unshakable.